Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for tuning in to our third episode of ECA Live, talking all about recruiting for equestrians, Riding Recruiting 101 tonight. Real quick shout out before I begin, because it is the holiday season. This is not a sponsored live stream, but I do want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Phil at Alpha Promotional Products, because he gave me all my new wearable swag, and he's been my giveaway guy for almost 20 years now, and he's an amazing human, and so I wanted to give him that shout out before I started. So tonight, Riding Recruitment 101, I'm going to bring in our very special guest, Chris Mitchell, formerly of both Cornell University and then later Randolph College. And we'll get talking because I know lots of people are going to have lots of questions. Hello, sir.
Hello, ma'am, and how are you today?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting, because what we're talking about tonight is the number one thing that people ask me about.
I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine.
And I mean, you have all the answers, so that's why you're here.
All of them.
All of them.
Well, I want to thank you for letting me be honest. I'm excited about this. I've been excited about it since you asked me. So, because I love about recruiting and talking to young riders, and so I'm excited.
Well, and you've been the hire coach at CPI, not just CPI in Florida, but like all over, because you did it in Texas, yes. And hire coach in California too.
No, I did not make the one in California, just Texas and Florida. And I thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, I think it's so much fun. I enjoy meeting all the riders and the parents and talking to them about their colleges. Even if, obviously when I was at Cornell, I was trying to get them to go to Cornell, and Randolph, I was trying to get them to, but it's more important that they find the right school and the right match than if it's not me, it's not me.
Yeah. I love that about, and students don't believe me, because coaches want you to come to their school if it's the right school, but they don't want you to come if you're a better fit somewhere else or with a different team. And they look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, no, coaches want you to come and be successful with them for 4 years.
Right.
That's, they don't just want you for 1 year. They want you to come and have that full experience, and then they want you to be their alumni.
Yes.
And students don't believe me, and I'm like, okay.
I used to tell them all the time, I said, look, if you're going to school, it's, first of all, a huge investment, huge time investment, and you're going to come to the school and you're going to ride with me. And you're going to be really happy because you're riding with me, and you got that lucky because it is about me. No, I'm kidding. But you have to think about the time that you're putting in at the school, which is probably about 60 to 65% of your time. I know that's low, parents, but it's about true, doing school-related stuff. And then the other 35 to 40% of that time, you're at the barn. You're at the barn. You have to be happy at school. Because if you're not happy at school, you're not going to be happy at the barn. And if you're not happy at the barn, you're not doing anybody any good. You, your parents, your coach, your teammate, you're not doing anybody any good because you're not happy, and you haven't figured out why. And it's usually because you're not happy at school. And so it's important to try to find the right school at first. Huge to talk to the coach that you're going to.
Yeah.
I had a lot of students at Cornell that went to Cornell that never showed up at Cornell until they showed up the first day. And I had a much bigger team there than I had at Randolph. And it was harder because my turnover was higher, and the ones that left were the ones that I didn't meet. I didn't meet them coming in.
Yeah, because you need to set that expectation with them. This is how I run my program. So they have an idea of this is what my life is going to be.
Right. And I also think they need to know the personalities, because as we all know, if we ride, there's a lot of different personalities at the ring.
There's a range.
It's a big range, right? So you have to understand it. I'm loud. A, because I'm from New York, and B, just because I'm loud. And I dance in the ring, and I sing, and I embarrass you. That's
Yes.
yeah, right? Randy's so,
My favorite. And honestly, I tell students this just because it's what I would have said in the same position. But the CPI clinic in Texas, and you were warming the kids up, and you said, all right, just go, you get the feel for these horses. You've never ridden them before. Get out there and do what you normally do in your warm up. And you gave them all about 2 laps, and you looked at everyone and you said, I assume that all of you breathe normally when you're warming the horses up. So if you could all start doing that now.
right. Yeah, because it's all blue. And just be yourself, right? You're going to spend 4 years with this person. You want to kind of be yourself. You know what? You're going to know right away if you like the person, the coach, or not. You're going to know if you want to go to that school or not. It's okay if it's a not.
Yeah. And the coach is being themselves. I mean, you don't change anything to recruit a student, and I don't know another coach that changes how they are. They're like, this is my program. This is how I run it. Here.
And it's really important to meet the coach on that level, and also because you need to know how they run the level, how they run their programs.
Yep.
Eddie and Ashley down at SCAD run it totally different than I do. CJ up in Holyoke runs it differently than I do.
Yep.
Not any less successful.
As I say, these are successful teams. Different isn't bad. Different's just different.
Right. This is what works for them.
Yep.
And their students.
And the coaches that have been doing it for a long time know what works for them. You may have some new coaches that are just getting the hang of things, and they may change things as they learn more.
Right.
Fundamentally, I think pretty much what you see and what you talk about with coaches is what you get. And that's and we haven't even got to like this is how we start the recruiting process. But I think we're on a good topic, because I don't know what purpose it would serve for a coach to lie to a student on the way in the door.
None.
So, I think sometimes I'll have students that may say, well, the coach told me this. Like, do you think that's true? Yes, I do. Just because if they're telling you that, it's something that they want you to know about their program, or the way that they work with students, or how they run their barn, or whatever it is. So, I think the only quote unquote lie you might be told in the process would be a lie where a coach forgot to tell you something, or something had changed maybe in the school's admission process that a coach didn't know about. But blatant lies, they're not going to lie to entice you onto their team and then change something.
No, we no. Wholeheartedly, I 100% agree with that, because and when you talk to the coaches and you talk to like, just so you guys all know, we all talk to each other. Like,
yes.
Majority of us are friends, quite honestly, the majority, right? But we all talk to each other. Like when I was at Cornell, for example, we were in the Ivy League. So I'd see a student, and then Sally Batten would see a student at Dartmouth. And we'd see a lot, and CJ Law, who was not in the Ivy League, would still see the same student. So we saw the students a lot. So we talked. And there was times that, and it was hurting my recruiting, but it was times that I said, you're going to do better at Dartmouth than you're going to do at Cornell. It's your choice. I'm not telling you, I'd love to have you. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But the few times that I've met with you and I've talked to you, you're going to do better in school at Dartmouth than you are at Cornell. It's just a better fit, from my opinion. You can take it for what it's worth, and I'm just going to give you what my opinion is, and I'll give it to you, especially if you ask for it.
Open door, step through.
Right. There you go. But it's really important that you talk to whatever coach you're going to, and there's some that don't talk to you. There's some that will not talk to you, will not answer your emails, will not answer your phone calls, and yes, we still do use a phone to talk to people. Just
coaches like phones.
Yep.
Yes. Well, okay. So let's go back to square one. So, and this is where my juniors are kind of at. And I know there's probably some sophomores out there that want to get a jump on it. And there may be some seniors that are a little bit later in the process, but maybe that first introduction, you know, I know a lot of schools have like a recruit form online, or the
Yep.
email is widely available. So in general, knowing that all the coaches are a little bit different in how they do things, how does a student make that first contact?
If you don't see them, a lot of these coaches you'll see at some horse shows. Some of them you won't. But if you're out at a horse show and you know that they're there, go introduce yourself. That is number one. I used to love to see students come in and talk to me. And right now I live in Virginia and I've been here now for 9 years. I don't know, 8 or 9 years. And so I go to a lot of the Virginia horse shows. And in my area, all the Virginia horse shows, all the Virginia schools that have teams all show at the same place. Mm-hmm. All see each other. So we would be at an IHSA horse show one weekend, and then the next day be at a horse show in Lexington, Virginia at the horse center. So we see each other nonstop. So I love it when a student would introduce themselves to one of us. Because if you met one of us, you probably met all of us. Because then I'll say, oh, what? Because my first question is, you know, besides how are you and all that stuff, is where else are you looking? What are you looking to do? Where else are you looking? Because that makes a big difference to me as a recruiter, because it tells me a little bit about where you're looking and where your mind is. So if you're looking at Randolph, for example, and then W&L, okay, so there's a big range there in academics. There's a big range in academics. And so then I'll go, oh, have you talked to Gordon? Because I want to make sure that you have that opportunity to talk to Gordon Reistrup, who was the head coach of W&L. And if you say no, then I'm either going to go walk you over there if I have the time.
And he's over there.
I've done it. Or I've said, he's over there. You need to go introduce yourself after you're done talking to me and coming to Randolph. Yep. But you just tell him that you're coming to Randolph so he can like cry a little bit. So that's
In fact, I'll take you over there and tell him your name that I've already recruited you.
Right. So, but it's really important to introduce yourself that way. If that's not an option, and it's not for a lot of you, and I understand that.
Yep.
I personally, I loved our recruiting forms, but I'd like the email to introduce yourself and then a phone call. And then in that phone call, I would tell you probably to go fill out the recruiting form. So I have all that information handy in one place, and that's why I like it. Otherwise, I don't love them because I find them impersonal. But if I've talked to you first, or I've emailed you first, and I've set up that relationship, then it helps me. The recruiting form helps me because I can keep it all in one place. Yep. And most of them now you can add to. So you know you're going to a horse show next weekend, and you can add a clip to it or something like that. So that helps me. But huge is in person. And don't be afraid, because they're not going to bite your head off. Yeah. I have to meet a coach that's going to bite anybody's head off, that's going to talk to them about going to their school and their program.
I don't know anyone like that either. I don't know.
Timing is important, but
yes, timing. Kind of read the situation, obviously. Right. If they're in conference with one of their students who just had a bad round, maybe wait. Give that some time. But I also want to be, because I know we probably have a lot of parents watching this as well. When you say introductions, you mean the student, not the parent. Correct.
I'd like to meet the parents. I enjoy all my parents. They are, honestly, they're huge. They're always very supportive. But I'm spending 4 years with your daughter or your son. I need to know them. You're not staying in the dorms, and you're not coming to ride with me in the program and in the team, and everything's going forward. So I need them to come out of their shells and talk to me. And usually I might tell you that I need the questions to come from your daughter. And I may say, I usually use humor to help me with situations like that, because it's awkward. You know, it's awkward because I don't want to put the parents off. That is not my intention. My intention is to get the student to talk to me. I want to hear from the student what they've been doing. I don't want to hear from mom and dad that she was third in the Connecticut PHA final, and I mean, it's great, and I understand why you're doing it because I have 3 children myself, and I have to watch myself.
Yeah.
My son's a third-degree black belt, and so I have to not. I just sit there and I try to be quiet.
Yeah.
I try to be quiet. As you can tell, it doesn't work very well, but I try.
You get credit for trying. And certainly, parents have questions that they're going to want to ask, and that's absolutely, there's a place for that. But yeah, that first introduction, and that's what I tell all of my clients. I'm like, even if you want to run, like let's say it's a student in California who can't make it to the East Coast right away, and they are reaching out that first time, phone or email. I'm like, you want to run it with me? Send me the email. We'll do a practice phone call. We'll kind of run through this, but then it's all you.
Right. And on the other hand, parents, I also tell the children, the young riders, I shouldn't call them children, I mean the youngins, I also tell them, I said, when mom and dad have a question, they're entitled to the question. Mm-hmm. So don't go, mom, don't talk to me. That doesn't work. Yeah. I need both of you to talk, but I need both of you to talk about, from the parents, I don't want to hear the accolades of the rider. I want to hear that from the rider. And it's hard because I don't brag upon myself, but I don't consider it as bragging. I consider it just telling me what you did. I'm asking, what have you done? Tell me what you did.
And that's like, see, I literally have had this conversation with a student in the last few weeks because this student has a relationship with the coach, has visited campus, has had in-person conversations. So this is an existing relationship, but just had a really good horse show. And I said, you need to send these results. Well, but it sounds like bragging. And I'm like, it's not bragging if you actually did it. And also, this is an accomplishment. And this is something that, as you continue with this relationship, this coach is going to be excited for you for having had this result. So
absolutely.
Share it. Yes.
Absolutely. Now, don't call them and say, hey, I was third at this and won that. Tell them, be excited about it, right? And send them an email saying, hey, I just went to this horse show and this one was judging and this, and it was great. And, I beat Sally.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I'm going to reply to you going, that is fantastic. Keep up the good work. I can't wait to see you in the fall.
Yep.
Let me know how I can help you.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to answer you back because I'm excited for you that you're that excited about riding.
Yep.
Winning.
Yeah. And that's the kid that you want is the excited kid, right. Especially I'm excited I finished third because I've been trying to beat Sally all season and I finally did it. And it was it was an IEA show. It wasn't my best draw, but I did this and I was third and I'm so proud of myself. That enthusiasm, that's a kid whose attitude you want to coach for the next 4 years.
Right. And on the other hand, on the same note, if I'm talking to you and it's Wednesday or Thursday, or a coach is talking to you and it's Wednesday or Thursday, and it comes up that you're going to this horse show, and they say, well, please let me know how you did. They're not telling you because they're just telling you. They actually want to know how you did. And if you did great, tell them. If you did bad, don't have to tell them all the bad stuff, but just say it wasn't my best horse show. We had some issues and that's okay. You know why? Because we're all learning. Yep. It's called progress. And then the next horse show will be better and then better and then better. And then it's just, you don't have to tell them if you failed a lot. You don't have to tell them you were 6 out of 5. That's something I would tell them. But you have to say, you know what? It wasn't my best horse show. We weren't on par this weekend. Okay. It happens. We all know that. We all know that.
Yeah.
We're not perfect all the time. I mean, really close, but not all the time.
We try. We're not quite there.
But we're striving. We're still striving for it.
Everyone is that. And it's not like as a coach, you've never had a weekend where your team couldn't draw the right horses to save their lives and you all went home. Well, it happens.
Yes.
It
does. So
I think the humanity of the process is what students don't understand. It seems like it's this mystical thing and there's rules and unspoken rules and everyone kind of gets in their head about it. And I'm like, but you're a human talking to another human about this thing that we all enjoy doing.
Right.
End of the day, That's the bottom line. So yeah, be excited about it. Be proud. Share your videos, the good videos. If you fell off, the coach doesn't.
Unless they ask you for it because it was funny.
Wow, I was gonna say, if you have I did have a student walk up to me on my other side of the table days, and she was like, and this was a student who had committed to our program, and we knew she was coming in the fall, and she was like, so you want to see how I dislocated my shoulder? And I was like, your mom has it on video? And she was like, yes.
It usually goes straight to the ground.
Her mom actually held it. I was very impressed. It was as a good mom moment. We gotta give her the praise. But yeah, so, but seriously speaking about videos, okay, every kid is like agonizing over what 30 seconds of footage to send to a coach. So when they send that first email, or you have had that first conversation and you're like, got some video, go ahead and send it to me. What should they be sending in that first video?
I personally like a clean show round or a clean practice. The practice ones are harder because there's usually other people in the ring, so they block the video, or the sun's not right, or it's not shot. You know, brother Jake is shooting it and he's like talking on his phone as he's shooting it. So just make sure the video is really coherent, because as you can tell, as we get older, I have to wear glasses, so the screen gets a little smaller, and so you want to make sure that the video is clean. I like a little bit of flat work, a little bit of jumping, and your specialty. Is your specialty riding without your irons? Is your specialty your jumping? You know, something like that. Like every rider has that really like that go-to thing for them. I want to see that. I want to see that. Don't make your videos. If you make it longer than, for me, 4 minutes, and that's long, it's a little long.
I feel like you guys kind of see what you need like pretty quick.
I like clips. Like I don't want a 4-minute video. I don't mind having 3 or 4 half-minute videos, or 45, you know, or even if you give me one good course that's like the best course you had all year,
yep,
give me the whole course. Because if it's that good, I'm going to watch it.
Right.
But if I watch you miss in the first fence, I'm going back to doing,
yeah.
You're not catching me. But don't bore me either. So it's a balance. It really is. It's hard. It's a hard answer. But I personally like, and I think a lot of coaches like the clips, like a 30, 45-second clip, because I can watch that. Yep. And if I have to do something else, or something happened in the barn, I could run to the barn and I don't miss the whole thing and go, oh. So, because when you do that, you have a chance that the coach may not look back at it.
Right. Well, I also tell students, like, don't walk. The coach is assuming if you're jumping a 3-foot fence in the video that you can walk the horse. Don't walk.
I don't want to see you walk. No, I don't see it.
Don't waste your part of your 30-second video clip of your good stuff by showing the walk. Just don't.
Right. The walk is a lost art, but I don't need to see it when I'm recruiting you.
It is. Yeah. And I always caution parents too, when because parents always say, you know, is there a particular way I should shoot it? I'm like, just make sure that you turn to the phone sideways, please. But also kind of watch, because I've even seen them where the kid is riding in an outdoor ring in the summer and part of the course is under the trees. And so the kid literally disappears into the black for a minute. Mm-hmm. And who knows what happened? You know, just kind of keeping track of thinking about it as a viewer. So if you're a parent shooting, thinking about that part of it.
Yeah. My favorite too is when the sun gets right in the lens and you can't, it's like, oh, I don't know where they are. Yeah. I have no idea where they are.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's hard. It's hard because I'm not suggesting that everybody go out and buy the show video, although that some of them are very good.
Yeah.
So I would, you know, I'm not telling you not to, but just make sure it's clean. Make sure watch it. Please watch it before you send it. I used to have a lot of students that I'm like, I'd call them up and go, did you see this video before you sent it to me? Somebody sent it to the wrong coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Like writing in your essay, it's always been my dream to attend Cornell, but then you send it to Dartmouth. Like, don't do that.
I've had that too. Yeah.
Yep. But I would tell them to listen to it too, because what you don't want is a parent or someone in the background going, "Oh my gosh, she nailed that line. She's never hit that before." Like, don't, you know, or I can't believe she fell off in the last class. This is much better. You know, noise from the concession stand or the wind is fine.
But if it's too much wind, it's not fine. So try to see if you can turn the volume, you know, if you can. I would have a hard time doing any of that stuff because that's not my forte. I work with animals. I don't work with phones. I have one, but my daughter helps me a lot with that. So
the two things that it's a good thing you're not in film, because you're not supposed to work with children and animals and see both of them. Both of them, man. But yeah, and do you like to see, as you build a relationship with a student, additional footage over so hey, I showed you me riding my own horse, but then at the IEA show, I finally, it was my first IEA show. Here's me riding a catch ride because I drew this horse. Does that help you?
Yeah, absolutely, because that's what you're doing in the IHSA. You're catch riding, or NCEA for that matter. The NCEA, you have a little bit more. Excuse me, you have a little bit more time to warm up with your horse, but in the IHSA you don't. So you are a catch rider. You get on, you adjust your stirrups, and have a good ride.
Yep.
So yeah, it does help me. Especially, it goes back to, especially again, if I'm having that conversation with you prior to the horse show, and I know you're going to an IEA horse show, and I ask you, say, hey, let me know how it goes. That's a perfect way to just drop me a little email and just say, and if we have a really good relationship, you can call me, because I'm, you know, then I know you, and I'll probably pick up the phone. But if I don't know the number, I'm not picking up the phone.
Right. Leave a message.
Right. So, but that's a perfect way to send me an email. It's easy for you. It's easy for me. And you're going to get a response back from me. I promise you would get a response back from me, and you would get a response back from about 80% of the coaches.
Yep.
20 of them, you won't.
Yep.
And I think that's pretty good.
And I don't know, you know, what the other sports, what their percentages would be. So I agree. And so that is kind of a question that some students may have. So they're not going to know when they first reach out, which are the 20% that aren't going to respond.
Right.
That's fine. How do they deal with that? You know, how should they proceed with their college search and with the process for that particular team at that particular school? You know, they're not building that relationship. And obviously we want them to research the school really thoroughly, but you know, how do you deal with that? It's not even a rejection. It's just kind of being ignored.
Right. Well, one of the things that I would suggest, if that school is up on your list, right? It's one of the top 5. Let's say it's one of the top 5. And the coach doesn't answer you. Look it up. Make sure you got the right coach. First of all, make sure you got the right coach, because there are some schools that don't advertise it well. Go to IHSA.com, IHSAinc.com, and all the coaches are listed. And all those emails are correct as far as I know. And then start to ask the school, is it a team sport? Is it under the varsity athletics? If it's under varsity athletics, I would contact the AD and say, I've emailed coach blah, blah, blah on the day, and I have not heard back. Is there a better way? Don't accuse them of not answering you, because that's a sure way of not getting on the team. But say, I'm just trying to get a hold of Coach X. Can you help me? Because maybe Coach is going right to spam.
Mm-hmm.
Could go right to, you don't know, right? A lot of schools have a lot of firewalls on their stuff. So, I mean, stuff that you wouldn't think normally would go to spam could go to spam. And they may not know you're trying. If it's a club sport, try to contact the club activities person, whoever that would be. And at every school, somebody different. And if that sounds like a lot of work, if you want the school to work for you, it's not, because after 3 or 4 attempts to try to find how you can get a hold of this person, it doesn't work. You should be thinking, how does a school run? In my opinion, that's my opinion. That's what I would be thinking. I'd be like, do I really want to? And you may, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm just, to me, it doesn't matter if they're a club team or a varsity team. under the athletic department, they should, to me, they should all answer you. I know they don't, but they should all answer you. And if you should have some recourse in to find out, how do I get a hold of them? If you're close enough, drive onto the property. If you live close enough, take a drive. When you're going for a tour, take a drive. The school, unless it's in a city, right? Like a Boston or a New York, NYU, or, BU or someplace like that, which have to ride 45 minutes to an hour out of the city, anything that's in DC, like that, situations like that, you're not going to go. But Cornell literally was not a mile off campus, and Randolph was 8 miles off campus. So if you went to the school and you didn't come out to see me, that tells me something. That tells me something.
Yeah. Well, and making that, if you make the time to visit the school, you have to make the time to visit the barn. And I always tell students that with club teams, and normally what my students have experienced is, if they can't get the coach of a club team, because normally that person's not a school employee, so that's a little different.
So they're busy.
A student who's like the student leader and in charge of that, and say, I'll get you to the barn, I'll get you in contact with the coach. Like, normally that can help as well.
Oh, greatly. And that's usually how it works with a club team, because usually it's a club team, like you said, they're contracted by the school, but they don't work for the school. Like I was an employee of Cornell and an employee of Randolph.
Yep.
And I was an employee when I was at Pace. I can't even tell you how many years ago, but the students are who I want you to talk to anyway, because they're going to tell you. And all of my students, all of them, will tell you the good, bad, and the ugly. And that's fine. That's what you need to know. Everything is all the information you have before you make that decision, because otherwise you're not making an informed decision. Yep.
And that's what I'm telling my students, especially right now with a lot of the campuses being closed for COVID or having restrictions and things. A lot of the coaches that my students are talking with are saying, I can get you on a Zoom or on a phone call with current students to answer questions, because you can't come in person. And I see that becoming more the wave of the future. But exactly, who do you think you're going to be in a van with at 5 a.m. going to the horse show? These are the people. So yeah, find out about the coach from them, but find out about their lives as students. Are these the type of people that you could be comfortably in a van with at 5 a.m. in the dark?
And if you could do it an overnight, a lot of schools do it. A lot of schools don't. So it's something to ask. That's a coach question. That's also an admissions question. I would highly recommend it if you can. It helps set the culture. Not set the culture. It helps you understand the culture of that team. Like for Randolph, when I had a student come over and did an overnight, and they stayed with one of my riders, typically. But they met the entire team. They met the entire team. And then typically it came to practice the next day. So it was fun, and they got to get immersed in that culture and in that team. And that's the same for my teams. It was the same thing you're going to see in the fall when you come. It's not like, oh, we're really nice and and then in the fall we're like, who are you? That never happened with any of my teams. That's not the way we work. It's not the way I work. And most coaches want you to be successful. I don't know a coach that's worth their salt that doesn't want you to be successful. Why? Why? Just taking time away. If we're gonna be all about us, that's taking time from me, because I'm taking all this time and I'm doing it because I want you to be sixth. One of my favorite phrases to my students is, I prepare really, really hard to be sixth. Woo-hoo! No. I'm not preparing to be sixth. I'm preparing to kick your butt. I want to win. Now, and I was pretty good at it, but I don't like it when I lose, because we were not prepared. Right. You beat me. If another school beat me, that's okay. because they beat us. We can learn from that and go forward. But if we did not do well, we're going to be practicing a little harder this week.
Yep.
And I don't typically have to talk about it too much because you guys know it.
Yep. You
know when you just had a bad day, and it happens. It happens.
Yep.
It does. Yep. You don't want it to happen at the wrong time. That's really the only thing. You don't want it to happen when you need that show. And I can count a few in I'm thinking of a few in my head that you come down to it. Well, and we just had a bad day. We didn't ride well. We just had a bad day. And that happens. It just was the wrong time. It was the wrong time.
Yep.
But we were back at it the next week.
That's right. That's why we practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so when students, when they're seeing you at practice, a lot of times clients or other students will ask me, when I'm working through the recruiting process and I'm getting to know a school and a coach is getting to know me, should I request a chance to ride with the coach? Should I, should I make an effort to do that? Is it important to ride with the coach before you go there? Or can they get what they need by observing a practice and talking with the students?
Yes. Yes.
Excellent answer.
No. Some schools do not allow that. Some schools, from their admissions and their sports and the way their policies are written, they don't allow you to try out. Some schools do. Cornell, I couldn't do that. At Randolph, I could. Randolph didn't like it when I did it, but they never told me I couldn't do it. And it helps because I think it helps a little bit more if you can ride for that coach, because then you are getting instruction, and I tell you, just like you're going to get when you come in the fall. It's not going to be different. It really isn't. So that helps a lot. If you can come and watch a practice, I love that, because you are, again, getting immersed in the culture. You watch how this team works together, besides just getting to know the coach and how the coach works with them.
Yep.
You get a chance to watch them go in to their culture at the barn, which could be different than their culture at school. I just tell them all the time, you guys don't have to love each other, but you all have to get along. You're a team. You all have to get along. You all have to respect each other and like each other. You don't have to love each other. You don't have to hang out. They all did, but you don't have to.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So I think it's really important, if you can, to ride for them. That'd be great. Sometimes they can't because they don't have the horse flesh.
Right.
That was always a concern for me. I made it work whenever I could. But I think it's more important to be in watch practice, and don't come and watch for half an hour. If you're going to watch practice, because I'm going to notice how long you're here.
Yep.
I promise you, I will know how long you sat through my practice, and my practices were long because they were. But not everybody's riding all the time, so they're all doing work in the barn and getting horses ready, and helping the newbie riders and all that stuff. So. And I've had a lot of riders that were very successful that would come and watch practice and then go up in the barn and help.
Yep.
Those are my favorites.
Yep.
Right? It shows me that you're willing to work.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Part of a team, which is huge.
Well, and I would think, to me, you would actually get more out of observing the practice, because you don't have that self-consciousness of going, are my boots polished enough? I met this horse, all of that stuff where you're like, I don't want to mess up in front of the coach. What if I fall off? Right. All of that insecurity goes away, because it's literally just you sitting there looking at things, and you can do that well without, embarrassing
I can tell you, if you do that, put your phone away.
Yes.
Put your phone away. Don't sit there and pretend that you're watching practice while you're on your phone all the time. And you don't talk about it, so it's not like you're going to distract me that way. You're all like this. But you're not watching. You're not watching. So put your phone away. You can look at your phone for an hour or two. I promise.
Yep.
Nothing bad will happen.
Yeah. If it does, you'll find out about an hour late. Like, you'll be fine.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I know we touched a little bit on the relationship between like admissions and the coaches. And I know it's a different structure. You know, if you're looking at an NCEA team, obviously they have to follow the NCAA structure, recruitment, and context. But even varsity programs, you know, Randolph was a varsity team, even though it wasn't an NCEA varsity team.
Right.
Coaches working with admissions, because any sport, I always remind students, coaches recruit you, but admissions admits you.
Right. Yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah. So having that relationship, but also I know like you would talk to admissions about students, kind of who needed information or that kind of thing. And so
Absolutely.
I think students and families need to know about the relationship between how admissions and athletics work together, particularly with riding.
Again, like Randy pointed out, like you pointed out, it depends on the school. At Cornell, I did not have a great working relationship, and it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't. It was right.
Well, and the Ivy League is different because, of course, they're admitting a small percentage of their class anyway.
Correct. Yeah, very small. So, but at Randolph, it was frowned upon that the coaches didn't talk to admissions. Like, I needed to talk to admissions because there's stuff, because the coach gets so busy doing their coach thing and their horses in the barn, and you all know how busy that can be, right? And how time consuming that is. I'm going to tell you honestly, I didn't know all of the admissions policies. I knew the majority of them, but I didn't know them all. And I don't want you to get caught because I didn't know something. So I would love to start recruiting you. And occasionally I got some people from admissions, that didn't have this webinar, which is great. But no, seriously, they didn't have that. And so they had no idea how to contact the coach. Had no idea. So admissions would send them over. But that conversation that admissions and the coach has is huge. And they have to have it. And it's okay if, as the coach, you're starting to go, or your coach is starting to go, okay, well, talk to me more than admissions once you've applied and once you've all done it. That's their stuff. Their job is to admit you, like Randy said, right? My job is to sell you, not convince you, but sell you on our program and the school. Excuse me. So that's my job. Their job is to admit you. Regular students, their job is to sell you. Here, my job is to sell you and to get you so interested in here that this is where you're going to go. And that, I like my job. I do that well. But you have to make sure that they are talking, because at some schools, they don't talk very well. And it becomes a problem. So have that conversation with the coach and your admission counselor. All schools have admission counselors. There's somebody that's in charge of your file. Have that conversation with them. Do you talk to the coaches? Do you talk to admissions? What should I? And you'll know. Good, bad, or indifferent, you're going to know right away. You don't want to find out in April that the admissions person didn't send something like I did. I found out in April, after I found out a young lady that I was recruiting for 3 years, and had her all set to come. And another school came in and swept her up, because my school, I'm not going to tell you which one it was, didn't send her something that they needed to have. So they thought the school wasn't interested. After that, I had a very different relationship with my admissions counselors.
That would definitely change a lot of.
She would have been a Cashion winner at nationals.
Yeah. That's
because I still love her, but it didn't go to my school.
I mean, it wasn't her fault at that point, but no. That's where I do tell students, I'm like, this is when you're going through this process, my seniors in the fall, part of your job, seniors in the fall, is to apply to your colleges, is to get those materials in. And so when you are working through the recruiting process, that's part of your job as a high school student. If you're telling me and you're telling coaches that you want to ride in college, that this is important to you, that you want to be recruited, then you have to put forth some of this effort and have some of these conversations. I think that's really important for families to hear, because I'll tell you what, like, I know, like, I have a relationship with you, I have a relationship with CJ, with Eddie, and I'm happy to talk to them about students for my client families, but I'm not writing for these people in the end, and I don't have that relationship. So I'm happy to pick up the phone and ask a question, but I need my families to involve themselves and get the ball really rolling.
Well, and that's that was a perfect, because I was going to say, you got to make sure that, your job as a seniors is to apply and get us the information that we're looking for and all that fun stuff. But it's also to ask questions. If you have a question, you need to ask it, because I'm going to tell you, chances are I may not know that. Oh, well, in fact, I probably don't know that. So you need to ask me the question, and if you're applying by the senior year, most of you probably already have started a relationship with the coach. So you're probably going to have a pretty good idea of how they're going to take this or how they're not going to take this. But you still have to ask the question, because if you don't know the answer, how can you make a decision? How can you make a decision? You don't know the answer. You're guessing. This is a huge, huge step for you guys. Don't guess. I mean, make educated guesses, because it's all an educated guess, but you need to have as much information as you possibly can before you make that decision. That's not fair to you.
It doesn't help anyone. And the most common thing, this cracks me up, and I've heard it the most this year. So I want to say kudos and thank you to all the students who are trying not to inconvenience people, because what I'm hearing from them is, the coach is busy and I don't want to bother them. And I'm like, it's literally their job to be bothered, though. They get paid. If they're a varsity coach, part of their job, as a varsity coach in any sport, your job is recruiting. Recruiting is being bothered by students. So
it's kind of them. See how it goes? Mm-hmm. The other thing is that it goes back to, if I don't know, I can't help you. It's that simple, right? And you're at a coach that says, oh, I can't talk to you right now. Don't take that as I can't talk to you, because right now I can't talk to you. And parents, you know that, because you tell your students, because your kids, I do it sometimes with mine. I'm like, I can't do that right now. Give me 5 minutes. Let me finish this, and then I can come talk to you. And you want us to do that, but you have to talk to us. You can't assume that we don't like you.
Yeah.
I don't like me. Well,
don't assume anything. Just don't. And so, how often, when you've started the relationship, which we're going to assume most of my clients that I'm working with right now, we're starting first. We have to kind of know what schools they're looking at, obviously, who to contact. So we will start making contacts pretty soon in the new year. So once you've built that relationship, how often, is there such a thing as, I assume calling every day is too much contact. So let's happy medium between zero contact and, oh my gosh, that kid's calling me again. What's that happy medium?
Yes. Because if you call me too much, I'm going to be like, just no. For a minute. My daughter just walked in. So if you call me too much, I'm not going to answer the phone, because I'm going to say your number and I'm going to go, oh no. Right. Yeah. You know what? If something, once we have the relationship started, and it depends on the relationship. Like, I had a student that I recruited that was local. Well, I saw her a lot, so I talked to her a lot. That's okay. I had a student that was kind of local, but I saw her at bigger horse shows. I talked to her. She came to find me at every horse show, and it was That's fine. If something big happens, tell me.
Yep.
If you have a question, call me, email me. Don't let a question go because, oh, I just asked him yesterday. I can't tell you how many times I got an email and then because the rider was a little bit like me and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to ask this.
Yep.
So I got another email. That's okay. And then just use your judgment. I mean, how often do you talk to, I don't know, a friend? Sometimes you don't talk to your friends every day. And you know what I mean? But every day is too much.
Yeah.
One week's probably too much, but it depends also where we are in the cycle of the recruiting.
Yeah.
It's all kind of thing. Every day is way too much, no matter what cycle we're in. Just,
yeah. Oh, my clients don't call me every day. Like, no, just.
But I want to know, like, if you had a really good horse show, I want to know that.
Yeah.
I really do. I want to know what you're thinking, so I have a better idea of how you are when you're coming in. But
and my rule of thumb is kind of, and so this is good because you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. I tell students, like, when you're contacting a coach or an admission person, it's with a purpose. And so it should be designed to elicit a response. So had a great horse show, elicits a response. I have a question, elicits a response. If it's just, hey, it's Thursday, that's not a good
response.
No. Right. So that's kind of my rule of thumb. And so, yeah, if it's had a good horse show and then the coach sends you a response and it brings up a question, then I think 2 days in a row, fine. But beyond that, like, I think what you're saying is right on in terms of we're building the relationship, but we're not besties. You know?
Right. Well, and if you do it every day, we're not building a relationship anymore.
No.
I mean, honestly, because I'm gonna, as a coach, I don't have the time for that. If there's a question every day, that's okay for a couple of days. That's fine, but every day is too much. And I've had students that I recruited in the junior year or their sophomore year. We didn't do letters of intent. We didn't, but I mean, I'd recruit them hard, and then I wouldn't hear from them for months.
Yep.
I wouldn't hear from them for months. And if I haven't heard from you for months and I'm recruiting you hard, then I'm calling you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about you calling me. I'm calling you. Hey, what's going on? And, you know, and then in your senior year, I'll talk to you twice a month, maybe. If you're high up on my list of recruits, I'm going to talk to you at least twice a month. Check in. How you doing? How's the financial aid package going? How's this going? Because, you know, I don't necessarily want to hear. I'll hear it from the school and admissions and financial aid office, but I also want to hear it from you. How's it working for you?
Right.
Because I know what they're going to tell me, and I know what the national average is or for the school is for that year coming in. But I want to know how that works for you, because that's, for me, that's going to tell me that, okay, she's coming, she's not coming. Yep. Right? How can I help? Can I help? Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But you don't know those questions. And that's a parent question too, just so you guys know. That could be a parent question saying, hey, you know, little Bobby Sue, we really love to come there. It's been a tough 5 years here, and we just need a little extra help. And, you know, if you're high enough on the list for any coach, they're going to bend over as far as they can to get you to go to that school because they want you there. And if they didn't want you there, they would have stopped talking to you last year.
Yeah. Well, and that brings up that you and I talked about this when I said, hey, would you come and put some of these thoughts on video for people? And I said, how do students know they're being recruited? To which you said, you mean they don't know? And I said, it is a common question that I'm getting. You know, I have had students who are in the throes of having conversations with coaches, and they're like, but am I being recruited? And I'm like, but you're talking with the coach. So let's put it out there. Let's just talk about it. How does the student know that they're being recruited?
Well, I got to tell you, if you've had 2 conversations with a coach, guess what? You're being recruited. And they've played along, right? If you said, hey, you know, you met me, and then, you know, 2 weeks later you saw me at a horse show and you say, hey, that's not a conversation. Just throwing it out there. If you had two
Good to know.
conversations,
Good to know. Yep.
if you've had at least 2 conversations with a coach, you're probably being recruited. Now, how hard you're being recruited is that's a different story, and you're going to find that out as you go along. As the relationship builds and the conversations continue, is you're going to find out, because some coaches will tell you flat out that you're here and this is what I need and this is where you are, and I recruit 2 years out. When I recruit, I'm thinking about my team in 2 years, because I'm typically talking to sophomores and juniors. I do talk to some seniors, but the majority of them are sophomores and juniors, and I'm already in my head. Like, I had a young lady from Maryland, and I met her when she was a freshman. I went to go judge a horse show, and I was like, "Oh, she needs to ride for me." And since then we've been talking. I mean, she came and she rode for me, and she was extremely successful. She was 5th at nationals, but it's very handy in the IHSA to recruit early, because I'll never tell you not to go and do the 3-6 medal McClay. I will tell you, if you're not going to go play hard
Yeah.
in a 3-6 medal McClay,
Yeah.
you think about it, because it does change the level in which you're entering the IHSA.
Yeah.
So just think about it. I'll never tell anybody not to do that in their dreams. I didn't have that opportunity when I was riding in the dreams when I was young. So if you have the opportunity and you have the wherewithal and the reason, go.
Yep.
Go. But you have to think about what's going to happen at the end of that journey. You have to think about it and where that's going to come in. Yep. It may not affect you at all. It didn't affect a lot of people. I just want people to be aware that changes the way that you come into the IHSA, what level you would come into.
Well, and having that conversation is part of building the relationship, part of that student understanding, okay, right now with my riding record, this is where I would be coming into this team. If I change my division and I do XYZ, that may change where I come into this team. So it's again, building that relationship and looking at what that's going to look like. So that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. And if the coach is having that conversation with you, you're being recruited.
You're being recruited.
He or she is already trying to figure out where you're going to fit into the team.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's hard because we have to recruit people that have never ridden before.
Yes.
To people that are doing the medal McClay.
Yeah. And literally everything in between.
Yeah. And you have to, it's hard. It's hard as a coach to try to figure that out. That's why I do it. I try to do it a year or 2 out. Yeah. If I'm a year out, I'm probably late, and my team's probably not going to be as strong as I want them to be. Coming in, finishing, we're going to be very strong. That I can tell you. Yeah. But it's just the way. That's just the way it is. But yeah, if you've had 2 conversations with the coach, you're being recruited, because otherwise they wouldn't spend the time on you. Honestly, I'm just being honest. Hopefully they would tell you in a nice way, but I'm just being honest. I mean, I wouldn't. It's not worth time or my time.
And this is the honest space. And I think that's the key, is we all know, like, students right now who are watching this and hopefully thinking of their own lives, they know how busy their trainers are. And so if you take a college coach, they're as busy as a trainer, but they have these added responsibilities, especially at the varsity level, where they're answering to their athletic director, they're answering to admissions, they're trying to bring in these recruitment classes. So they are busy, but again, it's part of your job to help the student understand all of those, like, it all goes together,
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and so we're getting questions from the outside now.
Oh boy.
I know. And hi, Mira. So the question is, what happens when your rider hasn't really shown in the last year? Actually, this is a really timely question, what with COVID. So if the rider hasn't really shown in the last year, they may have done some IEA where that was available, or some rated shows, once they open back up. How is that going to affect these current classes of sophomores, juniors, and seniors?
I got to tell you, we're pretty good about understanding what you've done and what your track record is not the only thing that's going to get you in. I want to see you ride. So you could have, I had a young lady, for an example, I had a very nice young lady that came from a different part of the country. And the ridings, I grew up in the North, so it's not the North riding, it's not the South riding. You know, it's not the same because every part of the country is different. Regionals are different.
Yep.
Regions are different. And she came and she told me what she was doing, and I was like, huh. And I saw a video, and I was flabbergasted, to honestly, for what she was telling me she was doing, and then watching it, it was scary.
It was not what you pictured.
No. So, you know, it's okay though, because when she got there, she was able to go, okay, well, I haven't ridden it long. And the video I found out after, she didn't tell me in a little description of the video that she didn't ride for 6 months because she was sick.
Okay, see, families, make this clear.
You gotta tell me. You don't go, oh, it's not an excuse. It's setting up the video. It's not an excuse. It's telling me what the situation is. If I think you're riding every day and then you send me a video and I'm like, oh, I need to know. And when we had, my school always had I always had tryouts. I like tryouts. Even if I've recruited you, I like tryouts because it makes everybody equal. And you never know who you're going to miss, personally. But so during tryouts are after school starts, because I can't get you on before school starts. So it's after school. So you probably haven't ridden for a week. I know that. We all know that. I don't think the COVID thing, I think this actually could be a good thing about COVID. I don't think it'll affect us because all the coaches are going to understand that. All the coaches are going to understand because they're all in the same boat. They're all understand that, hey, you know what? And it may make you a better rider because you're staying home more and practicing more instead of going to the horse shows and performing. So I think it's really going to be beneficial in the long run. I think you're going to see a lot more home videos as opposed to show videos because you don't have them. But keep the coaches. And if you're doing something, hey, this is the first week I did 3 foot at home in a lesson on the strange horse. Fantastic. I want to know that. So I don't think it's going to be a big factor because I think the coaches are, excuse me, I think the coaches are aware of it for one, obviously, but I also think that they're used to that because we've always recruited students that didn't have great show records. And depending on the team that you have, you need a student that's good, and doesn't have a show record. Yeah.
And I remember, you know, back in the day, way back in the day, so far back that this student is now actually working in finance and making way more money than you and I combined. But we had a student come from the northern part of Michigan where there are more trees than people. It's a lovely area if you want a vacation in the summer, or winter if you like snow. But she had a wonderful riding foundation. She had ridden with a wonderful trainer who summered up there every year at their farm and had clinicked with Olympians and done all this stuff. And because of where she was located, because this was pre-Traverse City horse shows, her show record was almost nothing.
Yeah.
And the coach like triple checked her because he's like, I'm looking at how she rides and I'm looking at her show record and they're not. And that was just, it was circumstance. And I always feel like a coach is like, oh my gosh, Christmas came early this year.
We drool a lot that way.
Like, yeah. Coaches can fight with other coaches for that. Yeah. So, and so we have one more question that came in. We're going slightly over. I told you this was going to go long. I told you there would be questions.
No problem.
But I want to touch on, we touched on this at the beginning. We're kind of touching on it now, but this question has come up with a lot of my clients this year because coaches, like you said, you ask, where else are you looking to go to school? Right. What, you know, so that you know what other coaches. And my students are always like, should I tell them? I'm like, yes.
Yes, you should. It helps. First of all, if I ask you a question, I'm going to tell you I expect an answer.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, fair. Always answer a question. Yeah.
Number one. But this is the reason why I ask, because it helps me understand. A lot of times it helps me understand academics, where your range is. So that helps me understand that. So right away I can kind of go, okay, she's very serious about her academics, or she's not very, or he is not very serious about their academics, or not as serious about their, I shouldn't say not serious, but but it helps me that way. It also helps me because I know probably most of the programs that you're talking to. So I can help you hopefully find the right program. If it, like I said earlier, if it's my program, that's what I want. But ultimately, you need to find the right program for you. And if it's not mine, I'm going to help you find the right one, which is why I love coaching for CPI. Because I talked to the one in Florida, 180. It was a lot. It was fun, but I was exhausted.
I didn't count, but I saw you talk to every single child.
Every one of them. And I love it. So it's fine, but it helps me to understand you a little bit more than we're already building on that relationship. That helps me. And also, honestly, it helps me remember you.
Yeah.
Because then it's going to click that, oh, you're looking at Skidmore. Okay. So it's going to, okay. Because coaches, and if you get a face like this from a coach, they go, it's not meaning that they don't remember you. It's meaning that they're trying to turn their brain on to figure out which one you are. Because I used to talk to, when I was at Cornell, I would go through 300 to 400 students in a year.
Oh, yeah.
Either person, email, text. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot. And we have to keep them all together and all in the same file. And it's hard. So don't pick on a coach when they kind of look at you and go, they're looking for something for you to show them or say that's going to go like that. And schools, for me, that's what helps me. And it helps the others because they're going to go, huh. And to me, if they go, oh, you're looking there, that's not a good school. Well, that tells you something about the coach.
Right.
Honestly, that tells you something about the coach.
Right.
I'm very competitive and I want to win, but I want to win with my head high.
Yeah.
I don't win because I did something. I would never cheat, but you know what I mean? Right. You don't want to do that. And that kind of, I'm never going to put down another program. I'm never going to put down another coach. If you ask me, I will tell you what I think. But I would never, ever put down. There's reasons. Every program is so different and every coach is under certain different circumstances. I don't know their everyday, day to day. I don't. But it helps me and it helps other coaches because academically is really where it does it because it gives me a range of where you're looking.
Yep.
You know, so, and I'm going to pick on VI because VI is not here anymore. So, you know,
right.
So if you're looking at VI and Cornell, okay, we're somewhere you're not adding up. Something's not right because if you're looking at VI and you're looking at an Ivy League school, you are very confused. And,
exactly. It's like what type of student are you? Because if they're saying, you know, I've got these really top schools, okay, this is a really hardcore academic student. If they're looking at a school that is, let's say, below the Ivy League, we'll just, because there's the Ivy League and then there's below. But you may be a B+ student who's just found your stride academically. So the schools that you're looking at are not at that level, but that's okay. You're looking for that school that's going to help keep you going and achieving that level. Yeah.
But that's why I asked for the schools.
Yes. And kids, this is why I tell you that we're shopping for the school first. See, an actual IHSA coach, a member of the IHSA board is telling you. Okay. Sorry, that was just a little moment for me because I've been telling all the students that forever. So
we're going to blurb that out later in the editing, right?
I'm editing it, so no, it's actually going to be like a prominent clip. So and this year has been a little bit of a weird year because I had like clients that came to work with me a little bit late because schools, I mean, COVID has
everything's a mess.
Yes, everything has been a mess. Everything is not happening in a standard way. We're kind of making some things up as we go along. But for the seniors that have started to narrow, they've got into places, they may be waiting for a few, they're starting to narrow their choices. We do have a question about, so when they've narrowed it down,
Okay.
and they've narrowed it down and the probable school that they're going to attend does have a club team, at what point should they reach out to the coach? I mean, now that they've narrowed it down, just say, hey, I've been admitted, or I'm waiting to be admitted, but this is my top choice school, so I probably will be with you next year. I mean, does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that should have been that. Yeah, yes. You need to reach out to that coach as soon as possible because, again, all the coaches that I know that are worth their salt are recruiting a year or two ahead. They're not recruiting for this year's done. I mean, in a normal year,
in a normal year.
In a normal year, this year I would. By this time in the year, I kind of know who's coming in. And Randolph didn't apply. You didn't apply until December 1st.
Right.
Or November 1st, something like that. But,
yeah.
I would know who's coming in. Occasionally, I'll find one that's really late. But for the most part, I want to know because then I'm already going, okay, well, you're coming in. And now as a coach, my job is to take you from admitted to there. That's my job. I need to get you here in the fall. Just because you admitted, I'm not done.
Right.
I'm not done. I have to get you here in the fall. And once I know that you're coming in the fall, and that's usually May 1st because you deposit, right? Then I'm good. So now I can start to work for the next year. And I can say, okay, well, I have this one coming in here. And I have this one coming in here. I have that one graduating. And it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot. But yeah, so if you are narrowing it down and you have not spoken to the coaches, start speaking to the coaches. Absolutely. Might be hard right now, this time of year. I'd catch them. You have probably a week.
Yeah, I was going to say this week, and then
it's going to be hard. Yeah, and then after the first.
After the first.
Email, but don't expect them to answer you. I mean, I would send the emails and don't expect them to answer you until after the first, anytime after next week. This week, I would say they're probably going to answer you. But again, it's 2020, so who knows? But
I know. And that's where I'm at. A lot of, some of the coaches that my students have had conversations with have even said, I don't officially know who's coming back to my team because of the circumstances of COVID. Right. So a lot of them are padding their recruiting classes right now. It's this year, none of us kind of know what's going on. And so that's where a lot of my seniors, I'm like, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing because we don't know what the admissions picture looks like the way that we used to. And we don't know what the recruiting picture is going to look like. So gonna keep doing what we're doing.
It's like when you're on course, you're not going to, if you don't know what to do, you're not going to step on the gas or pull on the brakes. You should just stay the same.
Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
Stay the same.
Wait, Jane is on. Hi, Jane DaCosta.
Hi, Jane.
Just had to slip that in there. I love when the comments come in. But yes, and that's that's what I tell my students when they start getting wishy-washy at this point of the cycle. I'm like, no, we're 3 strides out from the fence, child. We are putting our leg on and we are going. We don't pull out.
Yeah, no. You can't do that. You got stay the course. It'll be okay. The right thing will happen. Believe me, the right thing will happen.
Yep. Yeah. Oh my goodness. See, like I told you, I told you we would go long.
You did.
Had so much to talk about. So I guess what I should do is say, are you willing to do this again in the future and answer some more questions?
Absolutely. I loved it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I am so grateful, and I will remind everyone, this recording will get posted. I will also share, obviously, if you have questions for me, I encourage you to reach out. I'm happy. signing new clients, signing sophomores and juniors right now. So just saying before the Christmas holidays. But also, if you have questions for Chris, you can reach him as well. He does an amazing clinic. He will tell your children to breathe during the warm-up, which is my favorite part. I've also seen you turn your hat around and yell at a few horses, which is also good. So good entertaining clinics to be had. You can reach out to either one of us. I will be, as long as everything goes forward, I will be at the CPI Florida in Wellington in January over Martin Luther King weekend. You may or may not be present. We don't know what's going on. COVID, no one knows what's going on. But yes, I would love to do this again because I think more questions will continue to come up. And I do think that the way that you approach this is so helpful to families because it is very honest and it is just, here's the information, but these families have to educate themselves. And that's what I try to do. And again, I think when you talk with families, you do a great job of that too, because the parents are the ones investing their capital, their finances, and the students are the ones investing their time, and they are the buyers in this market, and we're just trying to help them have a great outcome. So,
right, and it's, it goes down to wherever you go, you got to be happy, because if you're not happy, you're not helping you, your parents, your team, and more importantly, you're not helping me. Oh, let's be real. I mean, it's about me. So, you got to make the cut. No, I'm just kidding. But you can't be wishy-washy. You got to be committed to the decision that you make. And you know what? If you go for a year or two, and the school the team is great. This is great. The school, it's not what you expect. It's not what you're liking. Okay. I've helped a few students transfer.
Yes.
To a different program. And
again, that's where having that relationship with the coach and that honest relationship helps a student where you've been open and they liked you and they went to your program and then they decided that another school is a better fit.
Right.
You are willing to help them and another coach is willing to receive them because this has been an open and a positive relationship.
Well, and it also helps the other coach a lot more because we're having a relationship. I have a relationship with the coach typically, and they're getting all of my knowledge of you.
Yep.
All.
Yep. All. We're underlining all because
which is good because they want to know that coming in. And it helps you because then they're going to be going, oh, this kid's coming from here and they really like this program or they really like, this academic program that new school has that my school doesn't have.
Yep.
And that's typically where I lost them to transfers. They could build a lot of these schools now are having to build a program for the students. Sometimes it doesn't work. It's all good on paper, and then you get 2 years into it, and you're like, oh, both parties are doing that, not just a school or not just a student. Both parties are doing that. So it's really important for me to make sure that you find the right school, the right fit. It's all about the right fit. It's all about the right fit.
Yeah. It's all of those pieces, and that's what we're trying to. I mean, that was how I ended up doing a lot of these talks too, was just to get information out there for students to say, here, this is what you need to know, and this is how you need to think about your search. Because again, we're talking 4 years of a major financial investment, a time investment, and an emotional investment.
Right.
So get what you want and you need out of it, because that's the whole purpose.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You can do it, kids. So
you can. I have faith.
So amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, very welcome. Thank you very much for having me. It was fun.
Yes, I appreciated this. Don't go anywhere. I will end us and remind everyone this will be posted. Obviously, you can watch the replay of the live video. I also get it posted to YouTube later this week. And I will get the 2021 schedule for my next live event posted We're going to shift and go over to the admission side. That is my goal. The next time we're going to talk with a vice president for enrollment and get some insights on how to get in. So that's coming. Stay tuned for that. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night and happy holidays. We'll see you again in 2021.